It began on a quiet night. The sky was clear. The stars were bright. People were sleeping. Cities were calm. Then something changed. High above Earth, satellites detected a massive object entering the atmosphere. It was moving too fast. Too heavy. Too large. At first, scientists thought it was an asteroid. Alarms went off across military bases. Radar screens flashed red. Emergency teams were called. The object burned bright as it tore through the sky. A long trail of fire followed behind it. People woke up. They looked out their windows. Some thought it was a meteor shower. Some recorded it on their phones. No one knew the truth. Then something strange happened. The object slowed down. Asteroids do not slow down. It adjusted its path. It turned slightly, like it was steering. Inside control rooms, silence filled the air. "This is not natural," one officer whispered. The object entered Earth's atmosphere, but instead of crashing into land, it changed direction again. It aimed for the ocean. A massive splash shook the water far from any city. Waves rose high. Ships nearby felt the shock. But there was no explosion. No impact blast. Just silence. The object did not sink. It floated. Military forces moved quickly. Warships were sent. Fighter jets flew above the area. Submarines scanned beneath the surface. When they arrived, they saw something impossible. It was not a rock. It was not metal debris. It was a ship. A massive ship. Larger than any aircraft carrier on Earth. Its surface was dark gray metal. Long sharp edges ran along its sides. Strange markings covered its hull. Parts of it were burned and damaged, but the main body was still intact. Blue light strips flickered weakly across its upper deck. It looked like a war machine. But it was silent. No weapons fired. No engines running. No movement. Divers and drones moved closer. Cameras scanned every angle. The ship was not human. Its design was too advanced. Too smooth. Too complex. "This is alien," a scientist finally said. Those words changed everything. Governments around the world locked down information. News was controlled. The landing site was closed off. But rumors spread fast. People knew something had fallen from the sky. Inside the ship, teams entered carefully. The doors were massive. Heavy metal plates covered most openings. After hours of work, they found one access point. It was already open. That was the first unsettling detail. Why would it be open? Inside, the halls were dark. The air was cold. Strange panels lined the walls. The floor was made of unknown metal. There were no alien bodies. No signs of struggle. No signs of life. Just empty corridors. It felt abandoned. In the control center, massive screens covered the walls. Strange symbols glowed faintly. A central core stood in the middle of the room. It pulsed once. Then went dark again. The ship still had power. Very little. But not zero. That meant one thing. This was not a crash. This was not an accident. Someone had placed it here. One engineer noticed something strange near the engine section. The damage looked controlled. Not destroyed. Disabled. Like someone turned it off on purpose. The more they studied the ship, the more one question grew louder. Why would aliens leave such a powerful warship on Earth? Was it broken? Was it dangerous? Or was it bait? Late that night, as scientists continued scanning the ship's systems, something unexpected happened. One of the monitors flickered. A weak signal activated. Not from Earth. From the ship. A small transmission began to send. It was slow. Weak. Automatic. And it was not directed at Earth. It was aimed deep into space. Someone was being notified. The room fell silent. One technician whispered, "It's calling home." No one knew how long the message had been waiting to send. No one knew who would receive it. But one thing became clear. Earth was no longer alone. And somewhere in the darkness of space, someone now knew exactly where their abandoned warship had landed. The signal lasted only 12 seconds. Then the system went dark again. But 12 seconds was enough. The room stayed silent long after the screen stopped glowing. Everyone understood what that message meant. Somewhere in space, someone now knew. Within hours, the entire area was locked down. Naval ships formed a defensive circle around the alien vessel. Fighter jets patrolled the sky day and night. The world governments made a decision. The ship could not stay in the ocean. It was too visible. Too important. Too dangerous. Using massive transport platforms and heavy lift systems, they slowly moved the alien warship to a hidden military zone. The location was deep inside a desert, far from cities, far from cameras, far from civilians. Officially, nothing had happened. Unofficially, the largest secret project in human history had just begun. They called it Project Reclaim. Scientists, engineers, military experts, the best minds from across the world, were brought together. They entered the massive alien ship carefully, mapping every corridor, every chamber, every strange device. The more they studied it, the more impossible it seemed. The metal was stronger than titanium but lighter than steel. The wiring was not wiring at all. It looked like living crystal threads. The energy core at the center of the ship was cracked, but not destroyed. It still held power. That meant something important. This ship was not fully broken. It had been disabled. On purpose. Inside the main control chamber, symbols slowly appeared on one screen. The translation teams worked day and night to decode the alien language. After weeks of work, they finally translated the first full sentence. The message froze everyone in the room. Failed war platform. Combat performance below acceptable standard. Unit abandoned. Failed. The ship was larger than anything humans had ever built. It carried weapon systems beyond human imagination. And the aliens called it a failure? If this was their failure, what did their best ships look like? A young systems engineer named Daniel noticed something strange while scanning the core systems. The ship's operating limits were extremely restricted. Power output capped at low levels. Weapon systems locked behind multiple safety codes. Movement controls partially disabled. It looked like someone had limited its full potential. Maybe it wasn't weak, Daniel said quietly. Maybe they just didn't unlock everything. The idea spread quickly. What if the aliens had abandoned the ship not because it was useless, but because it did not meet their perfect standards? Humans were not obsessed with perfection. Humans were obsessed with improvement. The project leaders made a risky choice. Instead of studying it only, they would try to activate it. Step by step, they restored small systems. Lights flickered brighter. Doors responded faster. Internal gravity systems activated for short periods. Every small success felt like a victory. But danger followed every test. One failed energy spike caused a blast that destroyed an entire lab section. Several researchers were injured. The project almost shut down. But humans are stubborn. They did not stop. Months turned into years. Slowly, piece by piece, they began to understand the alien design. The ship was not elegant. It was brutal. It was built for war. Heavy armor layers. Long-range cannons. Massive engine thrusters. Shield systems beyond human science. But the real discovery came from deep inside the ship's core memory. Hidden files. Combat logs. Battle records. The ship had fought before. And it had lost. Over and over again. The aliens had abandoned it after repeated failures. To them, it was scrap. To humans, it was opportunity. Then one night, while running another controlled test, something unexpected happened. The engine chamber began to glow. Not flicker. Glow steadily. The main reactor reached 10% power. Then 15. Then 20. The entire desert base shook slightly. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alarms rang loudly. But this time, the readings were stable. For the first time since it fell from the sky. The alien warship was waking up. And somewhere far beyond Earth's solar system. Long-range space sensors picked up something else. Multiple objects. Moving fast. Heading toward Earth. The message had been received. And whoever sent this ship here was coming back. The alien warship was no longer silent. It was breathing. Deep inside the desert base, the massive reactor core pulsed with steady blue light. The glow reflected across metal walls and human faces. For the first time, the ship felt alive. But it was still incomplete. The alien system continued to show warnings. Power limit active. Weapon system locked. Performance restriction enabled. The aliens had placed limits on their own ship. Humans stared at those words for a long time. Limits. That word did not sit well with them. Daniel, the young systems engineer, studied the control code for weeks. The alien programming was complex, layered with security walls and hidden failsafes. But humans had something aliens did not expect. Curiosity without fear. And stubborn creativity. Instead of trying to follow alien design rules, the engineers asked a different question. What if we remove the limits? Military leaders hesitated. The ship was already powerful. Removing alien safety systems could destroy the base, maybe even half the desert. But time was running out. Space sensors continued tracking the incoming objects. They were still far away, but they were moving with purpose. Whoever sent the signal reply was not coming for peace. So Project Reclaim made a decision. They would not repair the alien ship. They would improve it. First, they studied the weapon system. The main cannon was massive, built to fire concentrated plasma bursts. But its output was capped at 30% efficiency. Why? Alien logs showed the problem clearly. At full power, structure instability detected. In simple words, the ship could not handle its own strength. Humans looked at that problem and smiled. If the structure was weak, they would reinforce it. Using advanced human alloys, layered carbon composites, and new internal support beams, engineers strengthened the cannon housing. They did not make it perfect. They made it stronger. Next came the engine system. Alien thrusters were precise but conservative. They focused on balance and safety. Humans rewrote the control software. They removed balance priority. They added raw thrust override. Test day arrived. Everyone evacuated the immediate zone. The ship's engines activated. At first, a low hum. Then a roar. Sand exploded outward in every direction. Shockwaves rolled across the desert. Several outer buildings cracked from pressure. But the ship remained stable. Power output reached 50%. Then 60%. The old alien limiters were gone. Inside the command chamber, the main screen changed color. Instead of warning red, it showed something new. Manual override accepted. The system had adapted. The alien ship was learning from human commands. Weeks later came the most dangerous test. Weapon fire. The main cannon was aimed at an empty section of desert far beyond the base perimeter. Energy built inside the core. Blue light turned white. The air vibrated. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he gave the final command. Fire. For a split second, nothing happened. Then a beam of pure light shot across the desert. There was no explosion. No fireball. The ground simply vanished. A clean line cut through miles of earth and rock like a blade through paper. Silence followed. Shock covered every face in the control room. The alien warship had been labeled a failure. Humans had just turned it into something terrifying. But they were not finished. Alien combat logs showed why the ship lost previous battles. It was predictable. It followed patterns. It relied on calculation, not instinct. Humans changed that too. They integrated human combat AI, aggressive, adaptive, creative. They added manual override control for pilots. They trained teams to think like humans, not machines. Months later, the transformation was complete. The ship was no longer alien. Its systems spoke human language. Its weapons responded to human instinct. Its limits were gone. It was reborn. Project Reclaim renamed it quietly. Reclaimer. But before they could celebrate, Space Command delivered new data. The incoming fleet had entered the outer solar system. It was larger than expected. Far larger. Multiple massive ships. Perfectly formed. Highly advanced. And moving directly toward Earth. Inside the command chamber, Daniel looked at the glowing warship display. The aliens had abandoned it because it was not good enough. Now, humanity would test whether alien failure could defeat alien perfection. And this time, the ship would not fight alone. The alien fleet did not rush. It moved slowly. Confidently. Like hunters who already knew the outcome. From Earth's telescopes, the ships looked beautiful. Smooth silver hulls. Perfect curves. Bright energy shields glowing around them. They were not damaged. They were not limited. They were flawless. And there were many of them. Inside Earth's Global Defense Command, fear was quiet but real. Even with the upgraded warship, humanity had only one alien vessel. The fleet had at least 12 massive carriers. Dozens of smaller escorts. Power levels far beyond anything Earth had seen before. Then the first message arrived. It was not loud. It was calm. Cold. This unit was marked defective and discarded. It does not belong to your species. Return it and you may continue existing. The words were clear. No anger. No threats. Just certainty. Humans understood the message behind it. You are small. You are temporary. Give back what is ours. The world leaders gathered. Some suggested surrendering the ship. Others argued for negotiation. But deep inside the desert base, the crew of the Reclaimer already knew the answer. The alien fleet had not come to talk. They had come to erase a mistake. And that mistake was humanity finding their abandoned weapon. The Reclaimer lifted from the desert for the first time. The sky trembled as engines roared. Sandstorms formed beneath it. The massive warship rose into orbit, leaving Earth's atmosphere in seconds. For the first time in history, humans sent an alien battleship into space under their command. The alien fleet paused when they detected movement. Another message came. Unauthorized activation detected. Final warning. The Reclaimer did not answer. Instead, it moved forward. Human pilots inside the command chamber felt something strange. The ship responded quickly. Almost eagerly. As if it had waited for this moment. Alien targeting systems locked on first. Perfect lines of energy aimed at the reclaimer. Then they fired. Bright beams of pure plasma shot across space. The reclaimer's shields flared violently. Alarms rang. Power dropped. But the ship held. Alien ships adjusted instantly. Their formations shifted in perfect order. No panic. No mistakes. Cold efficiency. Daniel stood behind the main tactical screen. Now, he said softly. The reclaimer's main cannon charged. But this time, humans did not follow alien targeting patterns. They did not aim at the largest ship. They aimed at a support vessel hidden behind two cruisers. Unexpected. The beam fired. A direct hit. The support ship shattered instantly. Alien formations hesitated for half a second. That was all humans needed. The reclaimer accelerated hard, using the unlocked thrust override. The sudden burst of speed surprised the alien fleet. They had studied this ship's past performance. They expected limitations. But this was not the same vessel. Human pilots rolled the massive warship sideways, something alien captains would never risk. Another shot fired, this time at close range. One alien cruiser split apart. Now the alien fleet understood. This was not a repaired failure. This was something new. Something unpredictable. Something dangerous. The calm voice returned, but this time it sounded different. You altered the platform. There was a pause. Then. You removed its restraints. The reclaimer's weapons charged again. Human combat AI adapted in real time, changing firing angles, forcing alien ships to break formation. Alien perfection relied on order. Humans introduced chaos. Another alien carrier took heavy damage. Fragments drifted in space. For the first time, alien ships pulled back slightly. Not retreating. Recalculating. Inside the reclaimer, damage reports came in. Shields were weakening. Hull stress rising. They could not win a long war. This had to end now. Daniel looked at the energy core levels. 90%. There was one final override. One that even humans had not tested in full. He looked at the captain. The captain nodded. All power to main cannon. Energy drained from every system. Lights dimmed. The ship vibrated violently. Outside, the alien fleet began charging their largest weapon. 2 final shots. One for them. One for humanity. The reclaimer fired first. A beam brighter than anything seen before tore through space. It struck the center of the alien flagship. There was no explosion. The flagship simply disappeared. Gone. Silence filled the void. The remaining alien ships froze. Perfect formation, broken. For several long seconds, nothing moved. Then the alien fleet slowly turned. And retreated. Not destroyed. But defeated. The final message came, weaker now. You were not meant to improve it. Earth sent only one reply. You should not leave your failures on our world. As the alien fleet vanished into deep space, one truth became clear. Aliens built for perfection. Humans built without limits. And that difference changed the balance of the galaxy. Space became quiet again. The alien fleet was gone. Only debris remained where their flagship once existed. The reclaimer floated in silence, its hull damaged, its shields nearly empty, its power core glowing weak but steady. Inside the command chamber, no one cheered. They were too tired. Too shocked. Humanity had just fought a species thousands of years ahead in technology. And survived. Back on Earth, people watched the battle recordings in disbelief. At first, the world had prepared for extinction. Now, they watched alien ships retreat. The impossible had happened. The abandoned warship returned to Earth orbit slowly. It did not land in the desert this time. It stayed above the planet. Watching. Guarding. In the weeks that followed, something even more surprising occurred. Long-range sensors detected signals from deep space. Not attack fleets. Not weapons. Messages. Other alien civilizations had seen the battle. The destruction of a major fleet did not go unnoticed. One by one, encrypted transmissions arrived. Some were simple questions. Is the war platform under your control? Some were cautious warnings. You have altered balance. Some were respectful. You have achieved what its creators could not. For the first time in history, humanity was not being observed as a primitive species. They were being acknowledged. The creators of the abandoned warship remained silent. But their defeat echoed across the stars. Inside the desert base, Project Reclaim was no longer secret. It became the foundation of something new. Human engineers continued upgrading the Reclaimer. Not to prepare for revenge, but to prepare for reality. The galaxy was not empty. It was competitive. And now, humanity was part of it. Daniel stood one night inside the main command chamber of the Reclaimer. The massive windows showed Earth below, blue, peaceful, unaware of how close it had come to destruction. He looked at the alien systems now rewritten in human language. The limits were gone. The restrictions erased. The ship was faster. Stronger. Unpredictable. But something else had changed too. The alien combat log still existed in the memory banks. Records of defeat. Records of perfection failing. Humans kept those records. Not as shame, but as reminder. The aliens had abandoned the ship because it was not perfect. Humans had embraced it because it was not perfect. That difference mattered. Months later, a final transmission arrived from the species that had lost their fleet. It was short. Cold. You were never considered a threat. There was a pause in the message. Then. You are now. Earth responded calmly. We learned from your failure. Silence followed. No reply came. The Reclaimer received a new official name. Not just a military designation. A symbol. HFY-01, Limitless. It was the first human-controlled alien superweapon. But it would not be the last. New shipyards were already under construction. Human scientists were no longer afraid to experiment. No longer afraid to break limits. Because they understood something the galaxy did not. Perfection is fragile. Improvement is unstoppable. And humans. Humans improve everything. Far beyond the solar system, in distant alien councils, leaders began rewriting their risk assessments. One sentence was added to their records. Do not discard war assets near human territory. The galaxy adjusted. Carefully. Quietly. And on Earth, life continued. Children went to school. Cities grew. People argued about small things. But above them, in orbit, the Reclaimer watched the stars. Waiting. Not as abandoned scrap. Not as alien failure. But as proof of something powerful. The aliens built for flawless design. Humans built from broken pieces. And when you give humans something broken, they do not throw it away. They turn it into a weapon. And that is why the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again.